Right, it is 4 o'clock. Good afternoon to all our wonderful geography teachers online today, as well as some of our maths and maths lit teachers that have joined us to learn more about our awesome map downloader. Just some interest sakes, please remember to turn your microphones off as well as your cameras. We are having quite an interactive session at the end with the Q&A session. So if you do have any questions or any burning things that you would like to know, please do not forget your questions. You're welcome to write them in the chat. And then at the end of the session, we will go through all of the questions that you have. So huge welcome to everybody, and we hope you enjoyed today's session. It will be presented to us by Jeremy, who is from Kartoza. And to just begin today's session, just a reminder, there are only a few months left here. And so SAGTA is offering a 50% discount for everybody that signs up to be part of SAGTA, the South African Geography Teachers Association, for the rest of the year. And, you know, it's such a phenomenal organization with so many benefits that you would miss this great opportunity for the end of the year by not signing up. So these are just some of the benefits that we have being part of the SAGTA team. So you've got unlimited access to the map downloader, as well as any new projects and features. And today we are so grateful. Jeremy will be presenting some of the new features on our map downloader. And then I'm sure some of you are super, super grateful for PrepShare, especially this time of the year when we're starting to get ready to set our examinations. And if you're a third-term school or a fourth-term school, you know, I'm sure you're starting to get ready for some cycle tests as well. And so PrepShare is really a great opportunity for you to go and see other schools' assessments and then get some inspiration from there. You also have access to a lot of professional growth through webinars like today, different workshops and accredited courses, as well as access to our Georgia e-journal subscription. And obviously, you know, being a geography teacher, we know, you know how special it is, especially with other teachers joining today, to have a community who you can turn to. And, you know, since I've joined SAGTA many years ago, it's been a wonderful journey. And you do really meet quite a lot of new people. Obviously, through the SAGTA group, we do have a lot of academic and field trip conferences. You would have seen an email from Inika a few days ago where you could have seen the pricing for the upcoming year, which we'll share just now. As you can see, the SAGTA membership for 2026 is 600 Rand, and that gives you access to the downloader, PrepShare, access to Georgia, our academic journals, the American Association of Geographers, as well as you could also plan or budget through your finance facilities for any kind of GIS courses. You also have access to academic conferences, whether it be in Joburg or other parts of the country. And then obviously prelim share, which is very important, especially if you're an island teacher where you've got nobody else or any other support. This is really a great initiative, and Heather Actaloni runs that. And then obviously coming up to our matric revision lectures, you know, geography, we don't let anybody struggle. So come and join the South African Geography Teachers Association. You will not miss out. There are so many benefits. I don't think 600 Rand is quite a lot to put on, you know, all the perks that you do get. So we are very, very fortunate to be part of this community. And so we will put up the QR code for you to join at a 50% discount. Today, we will start with our presenter. His name is Jeremy. And we will then also show you how to access SAGTA through the map downloader through SAGTA. But I'm going to first start off by introducing Jeremy, who is a GIS technician at Kartoza. He has studied geoformatics through the University of Pretoria. And with a strong foundation in geospatial technologies, Jeremy has worked on many great projects across multiple sectors. And his passion for GIS and in particular cartography, started in his grade 9 geography class, which I'm sure some of us were very fortunate to have phenomenal teachers and sparked an interest. And he is able to work on many different tools to make it easier for teachers to bring maps to their students. And yeah, I think that's absolutely phenomenal. I must add that he is also a past alumni of St. John's, and he was inspired through Sam Jones, his teacher. And, you know, it is so important for us, especially as geography teachers, and to remind us how we can guide our students towards a career in geography, and especially in GIS, especially at a time where there are so many more specialists that are needed, and that, you know, throughout the society, there's a huge emphasis on technology. And I think we use GIS on an everyday basis, but our students are not aware. So I hope after today's webinar that you are feeling motivated, you're feeling inspired, and that with exams around the corner, that you perhaps add some of the new features into your assessments. So I'm going to hand over to Bridget now, who will help you and will show you how you can go through the SAGTA website and link into the map download. Bridget, over to you.
Thanks, Kirsty Lee. I wonder if you could talk, because my voice comes and goes. I'm just sharing the screen. But to access, if you would mind just reading the disclaimer for me, please. My voice is very croaky.
Yes, of course. I've also hit a bit of a flu today, so I'm hoping it's coming forward great as well. But just please a disclaimer that the SAGTA Kartoza map downloader may not be used for commercial purposes, including the sale of maps generated by the map downloader or for any other training without the express prior permission of both Kartoza and SAGTA, or unless the end users are fully paid up members of SAGTA. And that's a very important disclaimer there.
Thanks, Kirsty Lee. And I see that Samantha Jones has just entered the room, and you were just complimented, Sam, on inspiring Jeremy. And well done, because we need more GIS practitioners. So here is the landing page that you would get to once you come, but you must be a SAGTA member. You would click on here, and then Jeremy is going to go through these 2 new additional maps. If you haven't been here for a while, you'll see that there's now a SAGTA World thematic layout and a South African layout. And this is what Jeremy is going to show you today, and our new protractor feature. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Kirsty. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to turn my camera off in a moment, just because it'll save bandwidth and make life easier. I'm also not feeling the greatest, so if I disappear randomly, that's why. But let me get started with this. So obviously you'll be shown the landing page. We've got the 2 new projects. I'll start off with the World Thematic Project. When you first open the project, you'll be greeted by this. So we've got the major meridians and parallels, and we also have the continents as well as the countries. We have different layers to do, like we can do many different things with our projects. These were all set out. We got given a set of lists that you guys will be using in schools. So we can activate the different layers as needed. There you go, capital cities. We can go through all of those. A couple of them, we can, for instance, if we don't want the continents on anymore, we can go back to our standard layer, but we can also do cool things like mean annual surface temperature. And you can also sit there, and if you combine the mean annual surface temperature with, for instance, the major ocean currents, you can also see where the cold currents are obviously in the colder ocean. It's things like this that you teach to learners, and if you've been doing it for a while, it's pretty, it just makes sense to you. But the moment you go to like a young learner, like a grade 8, grade 9 student, you start showing them how these things are connected together. They go, oh yeah, cool. And the puzzle pieces fall together, and it helps inspire them to do what they want to do with the map and how they can use it. Obviously, in your guys' case, you want to use like you'll want to do analysis. Some of the cool things you can do, this mean annual surface temperature. We can drop the opacity down a bit, so you can just hover it over. So instead of having it completely covered, you can drop the opacity down so it looks a bit better. We've got a couple of layers. I don't know why this one is not. I'll turn off the major ocean currents. The world vegetation layer is streaming in. I don't know why its legend isn't working. It was working not too long ago. But this is a layer that just displays all of the different vegetation zones, almost is the best way to describe it. It is a very nice complex legend that is just not streaming in, fortunately. But you can do, for instance, so we can combine multiple things. So we have the meridians and parallels. We can do the tectonic plates, and we can do, for instance, the population. So what you can do there is you can go like, okay, random question. It's not necessarily going to work for your analysis, but you can do something like which tectonic plate has the highest population density type thing. That's questions like that you can start to ask, and you can use the different layers together to do that. Or probably a better one than tectonic plates would be the time zones. So we'll disable the tectonic plates and put on the time zones. You can go which time zone has the highest population density. And using the legend here, you can obviously, it's going to be UTC +5, maybe moving into UTC +7. It's things like that that you can do with the different projects. We have multiple views as well. So you have set scales. So it's currently sitting at 1 to 100 million. It's quite large, not necessarily what you always want to use. You click the zoom in button. It does jump. Unfortunately, that is something upstream. We can't really deal with that. But if you go to about 50 million, you can get the whole of the continent of Africa. If you go in again, 25 mil, you can start getting down to like country levels if you really want. So that's sort of how we will work with how the workflow with the world project will go. If you want to print a project, you click the drop down here. So you add yourself a map title. So you can call it African continent here. Oop, if I hit the keys right. Call it African continent, select your DPI, so that's your dots per inch. Set it higher, you get a better definition, and you just click print and it'll load the map in a new tab. It'll auto download into your downloads folder. And so that's how you'll go from there. We have all these different layers that were specified, and you can use them however you would like. There are also, we can go to different layouts. So portrait for A3, portrait for landscape for A4, and portrait for A4 as well. I'm just trying to think. We also have some cool ones that I'm quite happy that we got working. So if I turn off this, we have topographical layers as well, which work really nicely. I just need to change my view. There we go. Okay. So you can see we have these different topographical features. So we've got and these all have a nice ski legends. We got the archipelagos all the way down. We have all these different things here that you can use. And we've also even got the marine ones, which are quite difficult. So particularly up here towards Norway and stuff, you've got the fjords and then going into like Australia, we can look at the gulfs. So there are different ways you can do that. You could, for instance, time zones, if you disable that, you could sit there and you could zoom in on Australia and be like, okay, identify the major topographical features of Australia, things like that you can run for questions. Yeah, and that's the general workflow for the world map. I will show you now the South African map. When you load the South African map, again, it's going to start, this is our default. So the default is just the provinces, the cities and towns, and then the river layers. If you don't want the river layers, it's very easy. You can just disable them. It's cool. We've got some cool things, like, for instance, you can do the mean precipitation zones. And what you can do then now as well, we've also got the catchment basins. So you can draw the drainage basins. So we can pull in the primary catchment basins plus the mean precipitation zones. You can see the different the different like rainfall in each area. You can also add in the rivers, and you can sort of see how these areas that have a lot higher annual precipitation have more rivers in general. These rivers do also change as you zoom in. That's a cool feature. They are streaming in, so you can see they're quite big and chunky right now. If I zoom in, they do change what layer they are looking at. Just give it a moment to load. Unfortunately, that will be my internet playing up right now. The rivers do change as you zoom into beneath a specific scale. You get more detail on the rivers. So it's made up of 2 layers. We get more river detail as you join in. So when you most zoomed out above about, I think it's 500,000, the layer. So the most zoomed in you can go is 500,000. We have scale limitations for this on purpose. If you zoom out further than that, if you go drop your scale even more, increase your scale. Basically, if you zoom out more, you get less detail on the rivers. That's to help speed up the rendering process. Goes to this sort of view here. So if we go to 1 to 7 mil, 1.745 mil, you can see the whole of the country. We can do a bunch of things. We can also, so there's precipitation zones. We can also do the monthly average rainfall. This is streamed in slightly differently. I'm going to disable the rivers and the dams quickly. So again, if you want to load layers and you want to get faster with certain layers, you do just need to click around. Again, same functionality as on the other ones. You can change the opacity, which is quite nice. So you can drop the opacity all the way down to about 20. It's quite faint, but you can still use it depending on how zoomed in you are. We also have some cool ones. We have like the airports and the seaports. Just disable that. I'm going to disable the monthly rainfall because I'm not torturing the system, unfortunately. But there are a bunch of layers. All of these layers are always specified as things that will be used, particularly in grade 8. The one that I'm very proud of, but I'm not going to try load at the moment, is the vegetation layer. You can see here we have a very nice layer of all of the vegetation in South Africa. It streams in. If it behaves, we can potentially do that. Disable those two. We also have all the active and processing plants. So we have active mines and processing plants. All of these are different layers that are streaming in right now. Close that and wait. Primary catchments can be disabled. So you just disable and enable layers as you need. When these load, hopefully they load soon. We can view, you can go through, you can look at the different areas. Like you'll see there are a lot of mines up, particularly in the northern part of the country, heading down into like the Western Cape. Fewer mines, or fewer active mines is the best way to describe it. And you can use those for different layouts, for different analysis, and for asking you students questions. We have, for instance, like the active mines, you have chromium, coal, all of these general mines, but then you also have the processing plants. It's quite nice to see, particularly as you get older, you see the different. Bridget, yeah.
Jeremy, I wanted to ask, just so that the map downloader will get some time just to quickly bring in these various tiles. And I'm pleased it's actually happening live. But if you quickly click on a layer, and can you see that some of the tiles haven't been fetched yet? Please don't switch on and off and send a message quickly to Inika and say it's just not working. These are massive, massive raster images, and we are really limited by the bandwidth that you have at home. So what I suggest is don't try and download everything all at once. So if you want to be able to do an exercise where you want to bring in the annual precipitation and you wanted to compare it to vegetation types, for example, only click on those two layers. And I also wanted to give you some time, Jeremy, because I see it's now, I think it's all come through, just to give you some time.
So I do also want to just touch on what Bridget was saying. The other thing, what I'm doing here is the worst thing you can do. You can see I've got all the tabs open for the different layouts. It's better to have one tab open for the layout, just because we're fetching so much data. So in theory, what I could do to help a lot of this is close that and then turn off my layers. And we can, for instance, bring on the rainfall. So yeah, it is better. I had them all open because I was knew I was going to go through all of them, but it is better to do one at a time rather than to have all of them going all at once. Sometimes, unfortunately, this does happen where it just does this freeze. We are pulling massive data sets. For instance, this vegetation layer does cover the whole of South Africa. If you want to speed it up a bit, you don't necessarily need to do the whole of the country. What you can do is you can zoom in on a specific area. For instance, if I zoom in on the Western Cape, you give it a moment, you see it is quite pixelated there. That means the tiles are loading slowly but surely. So we're just waiting for that to go through. If it decides to, yeah, it's still loading. But that's sort of what will happen. These are all the layers here. Of course, when we're doing a live demonstration, it was working fine this morning when we were testing. But the moment you do a live demonstration, something's bound to break. Yeah, so this is the vegetation. You can see it's very long. If you don't want to view all of these layers, you don't want to view the whole index for it, just click the drop down, the little arrow there, it hides your index for you. You can see we've also got the South African geology. We also have a DEM. We have hypsometric units with, it should have a legend, but it's not pulling through correctly. We have the global climatic regions is the same that you will see in the world project, but it just is more cut down to be in South Africa and some of the SADC countries, just so it doesn't break the user experience. That's the way to describe it. I'm going to move on to the topographic map because the South African map is not playing nicely today. This is the topographic map. It's made up of the topo sheets. Most of you are aware of the fact that it covers South Africa, but the one that it does also now do is it covers Namibia. You just need to go into Namibia and click on the Namibia base map. And you can see here, now we can see the Namibia map. If it takes a moment, it'll load the sheets. You can see here, you can see Windhoek. Again, scale limitations. We do limit the scales that you can look at the maps for various reasons. If that decides to play nicely, never. But you can see here we have Windhoek now. So the topographic map now moves into Namibia. You just have to select your Namibia base map. That was done on purpose because trying to load both base maps, you saw what happened with the South African map when I try to load big data sets, it does sort of just not happy with life. And then in the hybrid layout, I will also just demonstrate. So that's the main one for the South African one, was adding the Namibia sheets. So you can see here in the context map, we have the Namibian provinces. We also have the grid index for the Namibia sheet. It's not currently showing, but there's the 1 to 50,000 Bridget again, yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy, I think there might be some teachers here that have never seen the map downloader. Could you just go through a run on how they could print out a landscape 1 to 50,000 topographic map, please, of Joburg?
Sure. Of Joburg, sure. Yeah. So to get to Joburg, we've got to obviously click down here in Gauteng. Now you can see we're not looking at the right base map, so we're going to switch back to the South Africa base map. Just give it a moment to load. Okay, where am I? Ooh, that was quite a good click. I'm in Benoni. Okay, so let's go with, there's somewhere nice in Joburg. Sandton, Randburg. There we go, we can go to the center of Joburg. Okay, so what you can do, you can see I'm currently at 1 to 100,000. What I can do is I can set this to 1 to 50,000, and you can see how it shrinks in there. What I want to do is I actually want to click the zoom in button until I can make this rectangle as large as it can be for my area. I'm going to leave the, so what I did there was I just hit the layer panel. It just allows me to see my entire area. So this is now my print options. So I'm just going to call this Johannesburg right now. So this is you adding your map title. So I'm calling it Johannesburg topographic, if I could spell. And then go through, and I'm going to choose 300 DPI because right now what I'm doing is I'm looking at the A3 landscape, and that's a very big, it's quite a big page. You can change your page size as well. So you can see I'm at 1 to 50,000 on A3 landscape. If I, for instance, go to A4 landscape, you can see how the area shrinks to be the size of an A4 page. I'll go through the A3 page and I'm going to click print.
You can access the map codes, Jeremy, if you want to show show teachers how to do that.
Yeah, they're just not loading, unfortunately. There we go. Finally, print started. So you can see here the map that just loaded here as well. You can see the 1 to 50,000 maps. Then it pops up as a download, and then you have your map here. What's quite cool is it does show you, so you can see here I've got 2 map sheets, 2627BB, 2628AA. They show up in a little map sheets option down here. We've got magnetic declination that gets calculated per area. So for instance, if you move up into Namibia, it does change slightly for you. You can see here, so I've got the A3, you can see it's quite high definition. It might not be coming through the Google Meet as nicely because there's some compression there, but visually this will be your best definition you can get is 300 DPI. That's dots per inch. You can drop it to 100. If you are doing a smaller print like the A4, I would recommend dropping the print down to 200. You don't need to do all 300. You don't need all the definition all the time. The grid intervals, ignore this. Grid intervals, we do not need to use that. What you will use, however, if you want to search for a specific, if you know a topographic map and you want to search for a specific area, you can use the search function here and search for the code, the grid code. The other option is if you know the rough area, you can just click on the context map here and it'll move the screen around. So you can see I was in Johannesburg. If I click probably about here, it's going to take me into Northern Cape. And there's Lime Acres. That's not a bad click. So you can see that you can click around on this map here and it'll take you to the various areas. As long as you know relatively where you are in the province, you can then also just pan yourself around if you really need to finalize where you are. Once you have this map, you can see, so this was the map we rendered. It just appears in your document structure. It should appear in your downloads folder on your computer. Once it's there, you can move it to wherever you want. It downloads though. I set it to download as a PDF. You can set it as a PNG, a JPEG, or an SVG. I would recommend a PDF. It's just easier. Once it's there, it downloads, and if I open it from my end, you can see now I've got this PDF of the map, and then what's really nice is what happens is, particularly for the topographic map, you end up with a legend at the bottom explaining what the different symbols mean. This doesn't happen on all the maps, just mainly on the topographic map. I spent a lot of time studying these during my school years, so it's quite cool to see this actually happening in real life and being able to change it, customize it so nicely.
Yep. Jeremy, this is thank you so much, Team Kartoza, because the print function was a little bit clunky and problematic, and now it really is seamless, and we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, it did take a while to get that right. It works very nicely. You can also see we've got the grids marked here. So there is a red grid. I don't know if it's coming through, but if you look at it in your computer, once you are actually on the map downloader, you can see there's a red grid here. It's 1A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4. All of those. So you can ask students, for instance, like, where is Friederkorp? And they can sit there and they go through and they, okay, well, it's in 4B, or it's technically between 3B and 4B. So you can do things like that once you actually print the map out. That doesn't appear on the downloader on the site. You see those red grids on here? That's only once you print the map out. I'm going to close that now as well, just because I will reopen that map in a moment. This is the hybrid map. We do have some cool layers here. We got the dams. I loaded in. Well, that's the rivers. If it plays nicely, I'm hoping it does. So the hybrid map is a mixture between topographic or aerial imagery and satellite imagery and the actual topographic map. So you can see here we have this complex overlay where it's slightly, the opacity has been dropped a bit. And what that means is you get this mixture between the topographic map and actual what real life looks like. So you can see here this dam, for instance, is not just the boundary of the dotted line of the dam. You can actually see the dam. Around the city here, you can actually see the city, but then moving out, you can see the mountains and the hills and stuff, which is quite cool because it falls in with the contour lines that are part of the topographic tiles. Ooh, excuse me. You can change your base map in all of these if you want. For instance, the hybrid, we do recommend sticking with the hybrid because it gives you some really nice visuals, but you can move to a straight topographic if you're confused about the area and then go back to the hybrid once you have your area that you would like to print ready. The hybrid is not playing nice today, of course. This was all working. I promise you it was all working an hour ago when I was testing it. Yeah, that's pretty much the hybrid. Right. So you should all see what's there. Okay. So the 360-degree projector, I don't have a full screenshot here, but essentially off to the side where you can see the layers and all of those, there was a little dot at the bottom. It's a little circular, it's a little circle with a play button in it. It says protractor when you hover over it. What it then does is it brings out this protractor like this. You can move this protractor around. If my computer plays nicely in a moment, I will try to go back to the website and actually demo it live. It's much more effective. So you can actually drag this protractor around on the screen. So cool things is if you zoom in, for instance, you can zoom into, I did this on Cape Town and Malmesbury. So you could sit there and you could go to your students and be like, what direction is the center of Cape Town from Malmesbury? And if you go to the center of Cape Town, obviously Cape Town Port is there. Cape Town itself is technically there, but if you go to the center of like the city, you're sort of looking here, so your students should be able to go, yeah, it should be southwest of Malmesbury. You can, in your own capacity, once you've printed a map, draw a line. There is unfortunately no tool right now to draw a line here, but in your own capacity, you could draw a line like that for students to use. Otherwise, students can just read like this. They must take their ruler on a printed map and just this. The protractor doesn't export in your map. It is part of the map downloads. This is on the website. You can look on the website here. You can see it on the website. And you can look at it like that. So you can drag it around, move it around. So we've got the cardinal directions. We do also, once you start getting a bit more advanced, you can also bring in the actual degrees. But the cardinal directions will be the main focus. And this protractor moves around wherever you want. So it doesn't necessarily have to be centered on the screen. You can move it off to the side of the print layout or move it wherever you'd like it to be. So that's the protractor. There's a little button off to the side that you click on and it brings the protractor on, you drag it around. If you don't want the protractor anymore, you click the button again and it disappears. That's the protractor. That was the quick one. And then basically in conclusion from my end, if you want to learn more about how to make your own maps, not use the built-in SAGTA maps. So these are predetermined maps. For instance, the world map has all those layers. You can only use those layers. You can't add new layers. You can't remove layers. The only thing you can do is you can enable or disable layers visually. If you want to learn more about making your own maps, you should definitely go sign up for the SACE Accredited Fundamentals of GIS for Educators course. So SACE Accredited Fundamentals of GIS for Educators course. That's you learn to make your own maps in tools. I think it includes QGIS. Thank you, Bridget, or whoever's sharing out. Yeah, Bridget. That shows you everything you need to know about that one.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. That was very interesting. I'm going to open up now to the Q&A session. If there's anybody that has any questions for Jeremy or either Bridget, you're welcome to put up your hand or type in the message tab right now.
Kirsty Lee, just to quickly interject, but in the chat, there are some wonderful free resources for if you go to the Kartoza website. Lene has put 2 links there, a wonderful lesson for grade 10 and grade 8 with videos, notes, the works. So you just please save those links. They're for you to literally give to your classes to test them out. And if you scroll up, Lene has also put a Google form link there if anyone would like and is inquiring about any courses or custom-made courses. I'm so chuffed that many of the teachers who have attended these courses have now requested an advanced course. We will do that for you. And we will also be offering some courses around the map downloader as well, especially for Maths Lit primary school teachers, because it's a nice way of introducing GIS at social studies level. But I'm sure there will be some questions for Jeremy with the map downloader. I know, or any comments, not necessarily questions. Comments, please, on does it worked? Has it not worked? Please share.
Bridget, from my side, this week I've started population studies with the grade 10s, and today's session, and I will thank Jeremy later, but I think it really has inspired me for what we can actually do in our classrooms now with all of this technology. In the past, you were restricted by an image that you could possibly find online, and you would have to put 2 images together to share information. Where when I saw the tectonic plates and population, I thought, I know exactly what I'm testing in my final end of year examination. And just from my side, and I'm sure there's a lot of teachers that are thinking about this as well, this is really going to change geography and how we teach going forward. It's so nice to have an interactive platform that we can now select different data and draw it all together. So I hope some teachers have been sparked and have some ideas for the end of year examinations. But if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to put your hand up or turn your microphone on. I see Sanele's got a question.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Sanele.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Excellent. So what I've realized when it comes to like GIS and the layering and everything, I was having real difficulties helping FET conceptualize it, because there are many career opportunities in geography as a whole faculty, but they're not interested in it because they're not understanding. And I don't know how to bring it up to them the way that it was explained here with all the layering and everything. Like, I don't know how to go about it, and I've been really struggling. And Prof. Van der Merwe previously, like, he also tries and makes it more simple to explain, but I've really been struggling when it comes to helping them conceptualize what GIS is and how we use it, especially when it comes to the data layering. That's where I always lose them.
Bridget, do you want to help? Yeah.
Yes, Anelia, thank you for that question. And I think it's very valid. And you're speaking to an old Tani here that's been teaching for many years. The best way for your learners is to actually, they must change the different layers for themselves. There's nothing better than actually doing it yourself. It's like watching MasterChef, thinking that you're going to cook these amazing meals, but you don't get your hands dirty. So as soon as you can, I would strongly recommend that you actually get your learners with their devices to actually play around. Start off very simply as a teacher, using this as a teaching tool, the map downloader. Of course, I'm hoping you're a member of SAGTA to do that. And then ultimately get your learners to download QGIS, get these data packages, save those lessons in the chat, please, Sanele, and let them play around with it themselves. Heather's also got a comment here in the chat. She adds them. Heather, do you want to talk?
So, Bridget, I think she's replying to Lyndall.
Oh, terribly sorry.
Lyndall's asked, how do we put letters on the topographic maps as a reference point when looking at features? Do they teach this at the GIS fundamentals course, or do I add these letters on the downloaded PDF?
Also another good question. I think we would do that as a very short little workshop. The GIS fundamental courses for you to actually make your own maps with your own data. In other words, data layers that aren't necessarily on the SAGTA map downloader. Apologies for the voice, everybody. But if you want to do that, the best way is to actually just PDF it and put it into any graphic package, save it as an image then, and then just put in those labels. But you can do that within QGIS as well. So I like to have a print ready map. You just get a little bit of a kick out of it, but you need to play. So Sanele, just to get back to you, because I see your hand is still up, and you must tell me if we haven't answered your question. But really let your learners play, and they love it. They are so tech savvy. They really do enjoy it, and it's introducing GIS really grows your numbers. And we need more GIS practitioners in the country, please. Kartoza is looking for more and more, and we need to inspire them. So you need to dish them out and get them to study at tertiary, please.
I don't see there's any other questions in the messages. Is there anybody? Jocelyn says, wow, the potential of all the cool maps and interactive tasks we can make. This is amazing. Oh, it really, there are so many endless possibilities here.
Thank you, Jocelyn. And I also want to add that it helps with assessment, because now you can ask questions not necessarily dependent on what you can find as a Google image. You can ask whatever question and create the map to fit whatever assessment or whatever learning area you would like to assess. But map spatial literacy is what sets geography apart. Please introduce it at the social sciences level. Get the history teacher, if they are teaching social sciences, to become a SAGTA member and to start playing with the map downloader, because it's a very, very good way to start.
Is there anybody else that has any queries or questions? I will, once Pam has put up her hand here. Pam?
Thanks, Kirsty. I just want to, this is probably just to Jeremy. So with the topo map, when you do the elevation profile, I brought the protractor onto the topo map, and I was struggling a bit. So what I did was I created a profile line. I had the elevation profile on the side, but then I brought the protractor back on, and I used the 2 points, the start and end points, just to fiddle around. And I thought that might be a nice way of explaining bearing, particularly when it's on the right-hand side, so it's less than 180, and then your bearing where you've got to say 180 plus the angle. So I fiddled around there because I've been mentoring some teachers, and I thought that this was a nice way to do it. So that was just something I learned by fiddling around. So I think the important thing for all of us is to play around with the map download. The possibilities are really endless. So thank you, Jeremy, and your team, Kartoza, and thanks, Kirsty.
Thank you. I will pass that message on, because one of our developers actually got that working nicely for the protractor and the profile tool. That's a really good hint, to use the profile tool to make a line for you to then use for bearing. Thank you.
There's another message here. It says, thank you for including maths literacy teachers. Oh, you're more than welcome. I'm looking forward to playing around. How can we access Kartoza if we're not part of SAGTA? Bridget?
You can access those lessons and not be part of SAGTA, because it's a direct link onto the Kartoza site. But to access the map downloader, that was developed by Kartoza, but was a brainchild of the synergy between SAGTA and Kartoza. You must please, all of this does take funding. And it's your membership fees that actually allow us to pay Kartoza to develop this. So, for example, I'm just quickly sharing a screen here, because I would love to. I've realized we haven't showed the profile tool. Just so you know that it hasn't crashed, that it is working here on my side. And I love that the center of South Africa is Kimberley, because our secretary at SAGTA resides in Kimberley, and we wanted to make sure and honor her, so that our maps always start from her hometown. So you will always get to Kimberley there. But you must please, all of this, it's the hosting fees are exorbitant. It really all does take money. And a lot of us volunteer our time at SAGTA. Please pay your membership fees. It's not even a price. I think it's the price of 4 coffees per annum. That is it. 4 coffees per annum, and you are empowering yourself. And we're offering a 50% discount so that at least you can have access to SAGTA and the map download for the rest of the year. So please go on the SAGTA website, and all you need to do, let me just quickly do that now, is to become a member. Here's the SAGTA website. Maths lit teachers, social sciences teachers, here is how you apply, and it's 50% off an individual membership fee now. So you're looking at 260 rand, excuse me, for you to actually access this wonderful tool. So please consider that. But the profile tool is absolutely marvelous. I don't know what topography we've got around here, but I'm just going to quickly search for Cape Town, because I'm sitting here in the Western Cape. And let's quickly draw a profile through Table Mountain. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit over here. But that is a wonderful tool. Here's the profile tool on the left over here. If you click on that, and you have your starting point and your end point, and there you can see on the right here, there you've got your profile. It's a wonderful way of teaching cross sections. And all this functionality that we introduce every year is because of our very kind members that pay their subs. And we want to invite maths lit teachers and social sciences teachers. Geographers are very accommodating. We are a lovely bunch. We want to invite everybody to the party. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget. I think this is a wonderful tool, and I mean, you can use this in your classroom while you're teaching as well. Don't be scared to try something new in your class. Your kids will absolutely love it, and it allows for engagement. Put up a topographical map and just discuss what you see, what your children see, and you will spark that interest in map work. And they love playing with these different tools in class. I do see, Bridget, that there is a question. Laura says that I found the elevation profile not to be 100% accurate from the trig beacon just over 1,200 meters, but the cross-section showed the starting point to just below 1,200. Is there a solution for that?
No, there's not a solution. That is because what the GIS is doing in the background is using a DEM. So in other words, it's an average of the height, whereas when we, the purists, draw a cross-section, we are using the exact height of a trig beacon or a contour line, benchmark, or spot height. So that is why. So please bear that in mind. See it as a gradient, which is an average. The profile tool, to be a purist, you need to draw it from cross-section to cross-section. So it averages it out. So to answer your question, there's not a solution around it. Please be aware of it. And another thing I want to bring up is if you compare a map from the map downloader to a map from NGI that you have a printed map, the profiles, they use a slightly different profile. It's still a Mercator profile, so that is why it is different. It is true to the scale of the map, so that is why please use the line scale. So the changes and the variations are due to the projections used. That was a question that came up from someone else once. I hope that answers your question.
I can probably add a bit to what Bridget was saying.
Yes.
The profile tool does use a DM, or a digital elevation model. And the best way to describe it is the trig beacon is a point, and when you use a DM is a raster layer. And for those of you who don't understand what a raster layer is, it's an image. It's a bunch of pixels. It's not a vector layer, which is lines and numbers that get translated into a point, a polygon, or a line. Raster layer is pixels. And when you get a pixel, it takes the average height of that pixel area. So for instance, the DM for this is quite a high definition DM because it's countrywide, but there will still be a slight smoothing effect. So you will lose. Trig beacons are a prime example of that, because if you measure them out in the field, you do exact calculations, you do all your trigonometry, all of that stuff, all your geodesy, you will get an exact height. The moment you put a DEM in, you do get that slight loss of data, loss of elevation there, because it smooths it out. It averages out that pixel for that elevation. So it might be just below 1,200, but it'll be as close to it as possible.
Thank you for the clarification, Jeremy and Bridget. And then there's one question from Judy. She says, please, could you repeat where to enable the protractor? And I think that's a really great.
Demonstrate that quickly.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So apologies earlier, my internet was playing up and then there was an issue with something else. But so on the site, when you log in and you look at a map, so I'm looking at the topographic map right now, you know, the profile tool is here. Just beneath the profile tool is the toggle protractor button. And then you can put the protractor on, it starts off, and you can drag it around wherever you want. If you don't like the rectangle from the print layout, you can also get rid of the print layout and move it wherever you would like it on your page. Again, this doesn't export in the PDF when you export a map. If you want to have your profile tool, not the profile, if you want to have the protractor here, you just take a screenshot of this image or export a look of the image here. But that's how, and then if you want to disable the profile tool, the protractor again, you just click the button there. You can just click it on and off, and it remembers where it was, which is quite nice. So if you have it in your way, you're like, oh no, I can't see what I'm doing, you can disable it, re-enable it, and then it's in the same place it was, and you can move it into the new location to make sure it's better for you.
This is just absolutely amazing. I think we are so grateful to be able to, download maps at any stage for any kind of test. I remember not so long ago, but when I started teaching, you had to buy a USB with a whole lot of maps. And I think any of the new teachers that are coming into the geography world at the moment, I don't think they realize how fortunate they are to have all of this technology and such easy access to such an amazing platform. So, you know, if you do have new teachers in your school, I really encourage you to sit with them, teach them, share your knowledge, because that's what it's all about, is to make sure that the knowledge that we have gets passed down from generation to generation, and to speak to teachers such as your Bridget and someone also like Pam, who's got such amazing experience. So from us at SAGTA, I don't see any more questions. But Jeremy and Bridget, just thank you so, so much for taking the time to present the new features on our map downloader. We really appreciate the effort that you've put into today's session. I am so inspired now to go set examinations. I don't think that's something we can say lightly, especially some of the schools that have just gone back now. But this, I think, it shows teachers, you know, you can do this. It's small, it's easy steps that you can take to creating something amazing for your examination and really testing your students' capabilities in the final examination session. And it was just so easy to understand. And from what I can see in the comments, a lot of people are so grateful for the information that you've shared today and what they have learned. So just a huge round of applause to both Jeremy and Bridget for an amazing presentation today.
And to Kirsty. And
no.
And then this will be on the Kartoza YouTube channel, and we will be sharing that link. Well, Kirsty will be sharing that link with everyone. If I'm sure many teachers were very busy setting, marking, recovering. Please, can you give them the link so that they can also learn some useful tricks?
100%. Lastly, don't forget, join SAGTA. So many amazing benefits, an amazing community. To the maths lit teachers that are here today, don't fall behind. Join us, be part of our community, and just for the rest of the year, good luck to everybody. And may the next few weeks be exciting in your geography or maths community. Thank you, everybody.